The unofficial kickoff to the 2025 college football season is officially here. SEC Media Days in Atlanta, Georgia, where we will be on hand to break it all down, talk with coaches, players, and get you ready for when toe meets leather this fall. Today, we are here previewing and especially giving our predicted order of finish that we will submit on our ballots at next week's SEC Media Days event in Atlanta. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips. He's Dave Shumate. He's Cole Thompson. This is the Overtime Drive, SEC Unfiltered's college football show, the best college football show on the internet. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. As always, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast. Where you get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. And as always, we are powered by our friends over at FANDUEL. Visit FANDUEL.com/SECU to join today and get started with $250 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, that's FANDUEL.com/SECU to get $250 in bonus bets today. We're just mere days away from SEC Media Days, the unofficial kickoff to the college football season. We are here giving you your full preview of what will take place next week, when all coaches will speak, what are the top storylines, who we're excited to talk with, and of course, we'll lock in our predicted order of finish, the exact ballot that each of us three will submit to the SEC next week. Guys, again, I'm Chris Phillips. He's Dave Shumate. He is Cole Thompson joining me. And for the first time in the history of the Overtime Drive, the trio is back together. Dave, what's going on, man? Great to hear from you, Dave. Cole and I held it down on Monday, but I was just telling you and kind of giving you some crap before we got going. You and I haven't been on air in quite some time. I think this might be the first time since I've lived in Nashville that you and I are jumping on the same airwave. So if I got a little more pep in my step, you know why.
Oh, outside of your live on the NCAA tournament, first day of the tournament, that was it. Outside of that, I got in the live stream, but you weren't in that studio, so you're right.
I wasn't in the studio. Yeah,
that is the first time. But no, it'll be my first SEC Media Day, so I'm going to lean on y'all to show me the ropes from the media side of things. So first time I'll be there in the hometown, Atlanta. Fired up to get there, see y'all. Hell, it'll be my first time ever meeting Bear in person. This guy couldn't even be – we could be getting catfish. I don't know if this guy's real.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Bear will be – and assuming plans haven't changed, Bear Thompson will be in Atlanta, Georgia, at least for one day at SEC Media Days. Myself nor Dave Shumate have ever actually met the Bear in person.
He could be an AI.
I'm not totally convinced he's real. I think this might just be an AI figment of our imagination, but I'm hoping to be wrong. Bear, what's up, man?
You cost me multiple scholarships. Let's start off with that. We got to talk about that.
Yeah, I did.
So I'm not upset because I was always going to stick with Vanderbilt. I verbally committed to Vanderbilt earlier today. You got the 4-1. You got all the information that I was going to be with them. So that's cool. I want to go to Vanderbilt. I want to compete with Diego Pavia. I want to set my record out in Nashville and just be closer to you. But you cost me scholarships, man. What the hell happened? What did we do our senior year that just made us fall off the face of the earth and have Georgia and Texas and Alabama rescind offers?
You love recruiting more than you love football, man. I could see.
Yeah, it was. For those that don't know, I'm playing a Road to Glory series with his name is actually. You know what's? I think I got a little too cocky, Bear, because the minute I changed his name from Cole Thompson to Bear Thompson, I'm like, let me go by my nickname. I went downhill. So I think we got a little
shit.
We got a little full of ourselves. Defenses took it a little personally, and I Heisman's hard. That's all I got to say. Heisman's very hard. So, again, we signed with Vandy. We could have went to Arkansas, could have went to Auburn. Missouri offered. So, but it's Vandy. It was always Vandy. It's always Nashville.
It was always Nashville.
It was always Nashville. So, and funny enough, you're not even competing with Diego Pavia because this is signing as a 26, I believe. So, like next season would have been your freshman year.
He's following him.
You're trying to fill the footsteps of one Baba Yaga.
So. It'll be fine. Listen, Baba Yaga's going to be proud of me one day. He's going to look back and say, hey, I knew that this was the reason why I picked you to be my successor. You were always meant to be.
He had calls with Bear like, man, I need you to come fulfill the prophecy. Fulfill the prophecy.
I laid down the foundation. It's time for you to go ahead and step in my place. Yeah, I walked so you can run in Nashville. That's what he said. We had a great conversation.
Keep the legacy up.
He sold me on the identity of what Clark Lee is selling. Now I just got to make sure that Clark Lee stays employed long enough and I don't enter the transfer portal. That's the main point.
Indeed. All right, boys, let's get into it again. We got a big event next week, the unofficial kickoff to the 2025 college football season, that being SEC Media Days. All 16 teams, of course, will be represented. Greg Sankey will get it going on Monday morning. Guys, I want to jump straight into it because, again, we're going to talk top storylines. We're going to give you all the 411 and all you need to know for Media Days and really get you amped up for the event because I don't know about you all, but for me, it was always something I looked forward to this time of year. This is kind of when, if not earlier, you start to get the football itch. You can kind of smell it. You can taste it. Preseason for the NFL is around the corner. Fall camp is in just a few weeks, and you're hanging on every single word that these coaches and these players. But, guys, I want to dive right into it, and that being our predicted order of finish. You know, some people will go out there and they'll vote Vandy to finish number one in the SEC, but they won't put their name or their face on it. That's not how we operate here. We're not only going to put a name and face on it and our voice on it, but we're going to put it out there for the masses to judge, to criticize, and have at us with whatever you want to. So without further ado, guys, we're going to go and do this. We're going to let Dave start, then I'll go, and we'll save our friend Bear Thompson for last. Our predicted order of finish that we will submit on our SEC Media Days ballot. So, again, without further ado, we'll start with Dave Shumate, who I'll run down it really quickly for those who are listening via podcast. Mr. Shumate has the Georgia Bulldogs finishing first in the SEC, LSU second, Alabama third, Texas fourth, Florida fifth, A&M sixth, Auburn 7, Ole Miss 8, Tennessee 9, Oklahoma 10, South Carolina 11, Mizzou 12, Arkansas 13, Vandy 14, Mississippi State 15, and Kentucky 16, with the Georgia Bulldogs as his SEC champion. So make it back-to-back for Kirby Smart and the Dogs as they go back to Atlanta. Hoist the hardware. Dave, explain yourself. How'd you get to where you got when it comes to 1 through 16?
I mean, when you start at the bottom, you got Kentucky. I have the records right here too, 3-9. I think this is going to be a really bad football team. I am not high. This is probably as down as I have been on a Kentucky team going into a season in probably 10 years. I mean, I think it's going to be a bad football team, guys. Like, I don't know. But it's ran its course there. A conversation for another day. I just don't think they're going to be very good. Mississippi State 15. Wouldn't shock me if Mississippi State finished 16. I think they have improved personnel-wise outside of the offensive line position, which is even the best teams struggle to find that. I think it'd be a successful year if they could get one win. I mean, it'd be interesting. Mississippi State and Kentucky used to play each other every year. Now they don't play. So maybe somebody could have got a conference win this year. But I think both those teams – I'd be a little surprised if one of those teams didn't finish last. How I put in the group message, I'd be surprised if one of Georgia, LSU, Alabama, or Texas didn't win the SEC or play for it. I'd be a little surprised if Mississippi State or Kentucky are not one of the cellar dwellers this year. Vanderbilt 14. I mean, I'll be honest with you. It's not really that I'm that down on Vandy because I have them going 6-6. I actually think the league's going to be easily the deepest league in the 1 through 16, or I should say 1 through 14 this year. I think the best league in college football. I know we're an SEC channel. I still think the Big Ten's top 4 are better than the SEC's top 4, not 1 through 4, but I think 3 out of the 4 top 4 teams in the Big Ten and the SEC, I think it leans the Big Ten right now. But I think the SEC's way deeper. As you can see, I just told you, I think Vanderbilt's going to go 6-6. They're going to get somebody. Again, I have South Carolina losing to Vanderbilt early in the year is one of the earlier upsets in the league plays. I went game by game the other day, just where it's located. I just don't know if South Carolina is going to start off the 5-0 stretch before they go to Baton Rouge. I think they maybe drop one just because of the inexperience on defense. I think Vandy kind of could be that. You know, I think this would be a good team. Moving on, Arkansas. I've said it on a couple of our overtime drive shows already, Bear. I'm not really high on this team. I mean, I love Taylor Green. I think even he has some deficiencies at times. There's no weapons on the outside. I don't know how much the offensive line's improved. Defense isn't that great. They drop Oklahoma State for Notre Dame. I don't know. I think they maybe upset somebody, but I think this is a 5-7 kind of ish team right here from this perspective too. I think it wouldn't surprise me if Vanderbilt's got ahead of Arkansas. I don't know. I had Arkansas slightly a little better. Missouri. I mean, I have Missouri. Let me get my notes right here. I had Missouri finishing. I had Missouri 6-6. I think they're right on that fringe too. Lost too much on offense. I think the defense could be solid. I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in Bo Prabula. Maybe he proves me wrong. Again, I've had bad takes every year. So maybe this is one of mine I'm going to end up beating. But I think they're in that 6-6, 7-5 range from that perspective. South Carolina, again, I think quarterback spot, I said it in our group the other day, is too good for them to just totally fall off with Lenore Sellers. But I do think they lost a lot on defense. It's going to be tough to replace. I think they're going to maybe lose a game early to Vanderbilt, like I mentioned, lose some of the bigger guys. I don't know if I see them going to win in Baton Rouge this year. I think Clemson, obviously, I don't know. I just think this is a 7-5, 6-6 team. I think they're right square in right there. I actually thought going in, I'd be a little higher on Oklahoma. Fellas, I thought when I finally did my final standings, I had them at 10. I'll be honest with you. I didn't like it. Left a bad taste in my mouth a little bit because I actually probably like the Sooners a little more. Hold on, I'm going to them right now than I actually gave them credit for from a loss standpoint. I mean, I have them 8-4. I'm not really down on this team. I think 8-4 with that schedule, it's just
a good year.
What'd you say, Bear?
It's a good year with that schedule, 8-4.
Yeah, but then I look where I placed them and where they would finish in the standings like 10th. Like, God, man, I wanted to put them higher, but I guess that's just where it shook out. Tennessee, I think they're right there with Oklahoma. I think who probably wins that game in Knoxville this year between Oklahoma and Tennessee probably is in that 8-10 range, I think, in my opinion. I don't know. I just had Oklahoma going to lose that game on the road. So that probably gives – and I had the tiebreaker going to Tennessee. So I'm pretty 9A, 9B with Oklahoma, Tennessee right now. Throw in Ole Miss as well. I'll be honest with y'all, guys. If from Florida – to Oklahoma would not surprise me how that shook up out of how my standings look right now. You could toss any of those teams, Florida, A&M, Auburn, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Oklahoma, all in that range and tell me it shook out. Oklahoma is at 5th. Tennessee, I don't know. I'm pretty confident Tennessee is right in that 8-9 spot. Like Ole Miss was 5th. A&M was 5th. You could toss any of that. That would not surprise me. And like I mentioned, again, not trying to be long-winded, I think these top 4 are kind of in a gap between themselves. I think these 4 teams are 11-1, 10-2 type teams, and I think Florida A&M would surprise me a little bit if they were a double-digit win team. Like I said in our group message a minute ago, I would be very shocked if the SEC champion did not come out of this group of 5 of Georgia, LSU, Alabama, and Texas. How I drew it up, I got Auburn beating Alabama this year. Jordan Hare, it's kind of due. Again, I have Auburn finishing 7th, but I have Auburn going 9-3, fellas. I'm pretty high on Auburn. I had a hard time not putting them 10-2. Put 9-3. Just got to think due to coaching with Hugh Freeze, they'll drop one. But no, I think going into the Iron Bowl, the SEC championship's looking like it's Georgia, Alabama. Is how it's going in looking because I have Alabama beating LSU at home, and I have Bama dropping that last game at Auburn to lose the trip to Atlanta. Maybe it benefits them because they get a kind of a bye week before the playoffs. But no, I think I think 4 teams make it from the SEC in the playoffs if I had to predict right now. And I know that's hard to predict because we're talking about other conferences and we're not predicting that. But I think it's going to be Georgia, LSU, Alabama, and Texas. And who knows? Maybe it shakes out and you get a Florida or Texas A&M in there. But that's how I kind of see the league right now. Like I sectioned the top 4, then 5 through 10, I think it's kind of a group. Then I think South Carolina, Missouri, Arkansas, and Vandy are in that group. Like I mentioned, I'd be shocked if Mississippi State and Kentucky, one of them did not finish last in the league.
What made you go with Auburn at 7? Because I think that Chris and I are a lot lower on them. I think that we all have like that one team that we're not buying stock into. But what was it for Auburn that puts you inside the top 5?
I mean, they lost so many close games last year. I have a hard time imagining it's worse quarterback play and they lose all those 50-50 games again. And again, I don't think that schedule is very difficult. I mean, they play a group of Kentucky, Missouri, Arkansas. Who else am I missing? Vandy. I mean, those are 4 teams who all could be 5-7 or 7-5 kind of. So like half your league games are not very difficult. They get Georgia and Bama at home. I have Bama, them beating Bama last game, the regular season. So that's probably why they'd move up for 7 if you wanted something like from a micro level. That's why. But no, I mean, I think it's one of the more talented teams since 2019. Again, it's not saying a lot, guys. This is a program that has had a losing record for 4 straight seasons. But I do think the offensive line, they got a lot of continuity there. Running back, I think they have enough there with Damari Alston and them, a top 3 wide receiver group. I do think Jackson Arnold will be better this year just because I think he'll be better in that system. I think what around him there is obviously better than what he had last year. And I like DJ Durkin here too. So I think schedule, like they weren't that bad off last year. Again, not trying to say 5-7, the best 5-7 team ever. No, they just lost a lot of close games. I don't know if I see that again, and you factor in it's a pretty manageable schedule. That Baylor game to open the year is massive.
Yeah, huge. Dave, what was your most difficult team to place, you feel like? Like, what was the one you struggled over the most?
Dude, I really thought when I went through this and I put the records next, I was like, oh, yeah, Oklahoma will be in the top 6. And dude, how I did the tiebreakers, I was like, they're 10th. And it's like I was actually higher on them. I was like, I kind of hated that, how it shook out, but that's how it did. So maybe that a little bit. Hardest team to place. Ole Miss, man. Just, kind of a lot of unknowns, in my opinion. I know the secondary is not going to be very good this year. I think naturally they're going to be a drop off on defense, and that's not something to blame Pete Golden for. They just lost a lot of NFL talent from last year's team. So they're going to drop off a little bit. And I think we all like Austin Simmons. So I'm excited to see, hey, was that Georgia series just a one-off? I don't think it was. Maybe I'm wrong. And then some of his weapons around him. So I don't know. Ole Miss, kind of a big mystery team too.
Who do you think is the one that you're going to have the biggest egg on your face for?
It's a good question, man.
It could be either. It could be we're way too high on them or you're way too low on them.
See, like I said earlier, I like the top 4. So I don't think I'm going to be off too much with those top 4 because I think they're in their own group. If DJ Lagway can't go, I think a lot of people are going to look like clowns at 5 with Florida. The higher up people would like Florida a lot. Now, Florida was a team I thought I would be more down on. Yeah. But I like where they got teams on their schedule, like where they're hosting Texas at home. I don't know, they were good spots. And assuming, we're all predicting these games as if these guys are healthy. I'm not going in and being like, well, DJ Lagway may have pulled a hammy in Wednesday's practice this week. So I'm going to say they lost because he's at 100%. I'm assuming he's healthy, but that would be one everybody kind of looked like I don't know, Bear. I feel pretty confident 11 through 16. Maybe Tennessee.
Tennessee too
schedule. You always agree their schedule's very beneficial. Maybe if they had a 10-2 and Joey Aguilar's a lot better than I'm expecting, they have some other people step on offense. I'll go Tennessee. Could be that team who maybe finishes in the top 5. It could have egg on it could make me have egg on my face because of their schedule.
There you have it. Dave Shumate's 1 through 16. Again, most notably Georgia LSU in his SEC title. Georgia hoisting the trophy in Atlanta. We're going to let Bear Thompson go last because I know Bear has a flair for the dramatic. So I will go ahead and unveil my 1 through 16 here, starting at the bottom at number 16. I've got Mississippi State, 15 Kentucky, 14 Arkansas, 13 Auburn, 12 Vandy, 11 Tennessee, 10 Oklahoma, 9 Mizzou, 8 South Carolina, 7 A&M, 6 Ole Miss, 5 Florida, 4 LSU, 3 Georgia, 2 Texas, and number 1, the Alabama Crimson Tide. But Texas hoisting the trophy in Atlanta, getting back to the SEC championship game, getting redemption for last year, and getting the hardware under first-year starter Arch Manning. So going through mine, guys, at number 16, I got Mississippi State. I do agree the offensive personnel is a little bit better. Blake Shapen is healthy again. I just don't trust the defense as far as I can throw them. The defensive personnel was historically bad last year. It's a lot of new pieces, a lot of new faces. I agree with what you said, Dave. Flip a coin, State or Kentucky at 16. I don't really have a problem with either one of them. And I think I just trust Mark Stoops a little more than I trust Jeff Levy, even though I'm sort of out on the Mark Stoops tenure there in Lexington. I think it's all but over. It's only a matter of time. So anyways, Mississippi State at number 16 for me. Kentucky at 15. I don't think either are going to be very good. 14, I got Arkansas. Taylon Green makes this team really exciting. If he gets hot, and I will not be surprised if he does get hot and has some games and some moments that make us say, wow. It's Arkansas under Sam Pittman, right? They're probably going to beat somebody they shouldn't, kind of like they did last year when they beat Tennessee. But picking this team, guys, to go 5-7 or 6-6 is probably the safest bet of any on the board. And I just don't think Taylon Green has the help around him. I love T. Will, the defensive coordinator, as we all do. But, Xavier Sori comes back, a really good player. But offensively, and so much of it, I think, with Arkansas is offense. I just don't know who they have around him to help him, especially at the wide receiver position. Who in that room this year is better than what Andrew Armstrong was last year? And you lose Luke Haas to Ole Miss. So and you lose Jaquindon Jackson. I don't think you have the pieces to replace the way you need to and help out a Taylon Green, who's a dynamic player, but I don't think he's like Jaden Daniels, and Jaden Daniels didn't do it by himself either. He had a pretty darn good supporting cast. So I got Arkansas at 14, Auburn at 13. Again, I'm not high on Auburn. they're going to have to prove it to me. I'm not a believer in Hugh Freeze anymore. He's probably the coach that I'm most down on that's going to have any sort of expectations on him. Listen, they are better than 13th in regards to roster. They are way better than 13th. I just don't trust Hugh Freeze to get the best out of the roster. I understand everybody wants to pin it on Peyton Thorne, and I'm not saying Peyton Thorne was good. Heck, I think he was my 16th rated quarterback last year going in the season, which he did play much better than that to his credit. And there's no excuse. If they go 6-6, Hugh Freeze should be fired. Certainly worse, he should be fired. With Jackson Arnold, who I think has a solid skill set, we obviously didn't see it at OU because that was such a mess and there were injuries around him. O-line was terrible. You got the wide receiver room with Cam Coleman, Eric Singleton, and others. It should be one of the best receiver rooms in the conference. I think you got some capable pieces, obviously, the running back position. And DJ Durkin has fielded a really good defense every year he's been at Auburn. So it should be better. I'm just in you got to show me mode. So for the time being, I'm selling the stock on Auburn. I got them at 13. 12, I got Vandy. I'm a Diego Pavia believer, baby. I'm not saying they're going to go win 9 or 10 games, but I do think this is going to be a bowl team, 6 or 7 win team. And by the way, I have not locked in firmly all of my game-by-game predictions and all my records. And to give Dave and Cole, by the way, something they didn't even know, we will do that at some point. So if you don't have it locked in, boys, don't fret. And these picks are subject to change, by the way, because we can get new information. Guys can be out. New guys can be added, what have you. Our predicted orders of finish will probably indefinitely change before kickoff. But either way, I feel pretty confident Vandy under Diego Pavia. Listen, for everything he's not, the kid is a gamer. He's a good, and dare I say, great college football player from the standpoint of being an improviser, being a leader, being a warrior for them. He's got maybe the best tight end in the country in Eli Stowers. Vandy's actually pretty deep in the front seven on the defensive side, as deep as they've been in quite some time. Interesting note that Clark Lee is handing some of the defensive play calling over to Steve Gregory. I don't think it's going to be all him like it was last year. And maybe it wasn't all him last year, but at least that's what we were told. So I'm curious what it looks like defensively. But I think Vandy's in a good position at least to get back to a bowl game, build off what they did last year. I got them at 12. Tennessee at 11. I'm a little bit higher on the Vols as a team than I am on their quarterback. That's for sure. For anybody who's watched or paid attention, I had Joey Aguilar 16th in my quarterback rankings. And maybe that was harsh, but there's just some throws that Joey Aguilar has made that I just can't get out of my head. But I trust that Josh Heupel, if there's anybody that can take a quarterback in a quarterback situation and get the best out of it, it would be him. They've got a lot to replace. Key pieces to replace defensively. You got to replace Dylan Sampson from a year ago. They need Mike Matthews, obviously, to emerge as a big-time guy on the outside. Chris Brazzell returns, obviously, but I got Vandy kind of finishing down past 10th at 11th. This is one where I didn't feel great about, but, I think the Vols, after losing Nico, as much criticism as he took, they're probably like a 7-win team now. I don't think reaching the playoff is a realistic goal and expectation for this year. I just don't think it is. At 10, I've got Oklahoma. Listen, I go back to the line of scrimmage for them. I just, how big of a stride can they make from last year to this year? I think John Mateer is an electric player, obviously. Deion Burks, that could be one of the most fun connections in the SEC. But you lose some key pieces defensively as well with Billy Bowman and Danny Stutzman at the linebacker position. Obviously you trust Brent Venables to get the most out of the defensive side, but also how does the dynamic of him being on one of the hottest seats in the SEC, how does it play? I think they're going to be guys kind of in that gray area where I don't think they're going to have a terrible year, but I don't know that it's going to be the year that Oklahoma fans want to inspire them that this is definitely our guy for the long term. 9, I've got Mizzou. I'm a little bit higher on Mizzou, Dave, than you were, just because at this point I just trust Eli Drinkwitz. I don't know. Like Mizzou every year, it's so easy to discount them, and I don't know what Bo Perbula is going to be. I don't know. Mizzou's just kind of that team we sort of forget about, and it's like, oh yeah, they won 8 games. Like they won 9 games. And I'm not saying they're going to get to that level, but I think they'll be solid. Again, you lost a lot of offensive production with Luther Burden and Theo Weiss, but I just trust Eli Drinkwitz to coach them up. I think he's one of the most underrated coaches in the SEC. It's one of the most underrated staffs. So give me Mizzou at number 9. At 8, I got South Carolina. I don't think it's going to be a college football playoff team like many in Columbia are hoping. They're in real trouble offensively if Rasul Faison doesn't get his eligibility. I can tell you that because, again, people forget how big of a part Rocket Sanders was last year. Yes, I understand you've got Lenora Sellers who gives you a chance in every single game. He might be the SEC's best quarterback. But again, it's a supporting cast conversation, not a how good is Lenoris Sellers conversation. So I think you see South Carolina probably slip back a game or two win total from last year, probably flirting with that 7, maybe 8 win range, which again would not be a bad year. But I know there's such a hunger for the college ball playoff there. Also, too, I mean, the guys you lost defensively, guys. You lose 3 of your 4 in your defensive line, both starting linebackers, and you lose Nick Eamon-Warrior in the back end. I know they've reloaded in the portal with some guys, but it's hard for me to believe you lose all those guys defensively and you don't take a step back. And once again, the schedule just flat out unforgiving. So I got South Carolina 8, Texas A&M, I got it 7. Listen, I got none but love for Gig'em and the Aggies, but it's Texas 8-4 until I see otherwise. It's just that's who you are. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like, I will not be the one that's out here pumping up the hype train on A&M. At some point, you are who you are, and that's your identity. And, you know, once you break out of that mold, prove me wrong, then I'll start giving you more of the credit. But I mean, listen, this team on paper is fun to talk about. Marcel Reed takes the next step. You got maybe the best offensive line in the conference, maybe the best in college football when it's all said and done. As good as they are, all the veteran experience. You know, defensively, Mike Elko, they got to shore up the pass defense from a year ago. But again, on the offensive side, they should be really fun. Guys, I didn't know this till I read this stat. Texas A&M was number 1 in the conference in points per game in SEC games. They scored just under 30 points per game. That was number 1 in SEC play, which I could not believe, but apparently that's a fact. So Le'Veon Moss, Reuben Owens at the running back position, going to be one of the most dynamic duos in the backfield. I think A&M could be more. I think their ceiling's higher than this, but right now I got them at 7. Ole Miss at 6. Really excited, as Dave mentioned, to see Austin Simmons spin the football all season long. This is just, guys, another like I trust Lane Kiffin thing. And I'm not obviously picking them to be a playoff team or, you know, do I think it's possible? Sure. But at this point, I just think Lane Kiffin has brought a level of stability there and consistency where I just don't see them, even after losing a lot of the talented pieces they lost last year, just completely falling off the map. Big year for Caden Lee at the wide receiver position. They've got a lot to replace on the offensive front as well. That'll be a big question for them. Schedule looks pretty workable. So, again, I've got Ole Miss at number 6. I think Austin Simmons could be a breakout player in this league at quarterback. Number 5, I got Florida. Very high on Florida. I think Florida is going to be one of those teams knocking on the door of the college football playoff, assuming DJ Lagway is good to go 100%. Guys, defensively, though, they are salty in the front 7. They are really, really good defensively, really good up front. And then offensively, love the game of Trey Wilson, Jaden Ball in the backfield. They've got other playmakers. You guys mentioned the freshman whose name escapes me. Dallas, what's his last name? Dallas Wilson. Yes, the other Wilson. Yeah, Dallas Wilson's a kid that's probably he's got star potential. So feel really good about Florida. I mean, again, you got a player like DJ Lagway. He's one of these young quarterbacks we're all really excited about. So I got them at 5th. LSU, I got 4. I mean, I think, and I agree with Dave, I'd be surprised if it's anybody outside of Bama, Texas, Georgia, LSU in the top 4. But after last year, I mean, who knows? I'm not going to lie to you going through these picks. I was like, I feel like I need to pick more chaos because of what we saw last year. But these feel like the 4 best teams. I've got LSU at 4. I still just have some Garrett Nussmeier trust issues. That's what it comes down to for me. Like, I think LSU, after what they did in the portal, they're one of the most talented teams in college football. They're right up there with like the Texases of the world. But I still have some Nussmeier PTSD. He's the pitcher that throws 100 miles an hour that at times he just has no clue where it's going, and that can get you in trouble in this league. They got to run the football better, obviously, as we all know. Defense needs to take a step forward again this year. But, you know, LSU's an SEC title contender and certainly a college football playoff contender. And if they're not, Brian Kelly, the heat is going to turn up on him really quickly. So I got them at 4. Georgia at 3. Georgia, I refuse to believe they're going to go anywhere with Kirby Smart at the helm. I'm a little bit higher on Gunnar Stockton than maybe some other people. I think there was a lot of chatter over the offseason. Should Georgia go in the portal? What's Ryan Puglisi doing? I'm not saying he's going to light the world on fire, but I think Gunnar Stockton can be a solid option for this team. Maybe a little bit higher floor even than what Carson Beck had. They obviously upgraded the weapons at wide receiver. They've got to catch the football. They're loaded at tight end. Who's behind Nate Frazier at running back? Going to be a big question. And on the offensive line, can they bully people around like we're used to seeing Georgia do? You know, defensively, I mean, it's Georgia defense under Kirby Smart. They're loaded with 5 stars, but they don't have the same depth they used to have. So that's going to be the question with UGA. But the schedule swings the other way this year where so many of those big games are at Sanford Stadium. So, but I got them at 3. Texas at 2. I mean, guys, they might be the most talented team in college football. I'm a believer in the Arch Manning hype. I think Steve Sarkisian, the way he's built this roster, they're built for this moment. They replace a lot on the offensive line. I totally understand that, but I think it's a lot of guys. Essentially, yesterday's backups are today's stars. I think these guys are going to fill in nicely. You got Wingo on the outside as a big-time playmaker. And defensively is really what it comes down to for me, guys. Even if the offense takes some time to gel, defensively they are one of the best, if not the best, in the SEC. Ant Hill at the linebacker position. Colin Simmons on the outside. I mean, they got one of the best pass rushers in college football. So many other guys there in the front seven as well. But at number 1, I got Alabama. I think the Crimson Tide return to the top this year. It's the pick to click for Alabama is the quarterback position. And I think Ty Simpson, I think it will be addition by subtraction. No shot at Jalen Milroe, but I think Ty Simpson is going to be a much better fit for what Kalen DeBoer, Ryan Grubb, what they want to do offensively. I mean, guys, y'all know this. Y'all know this. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Bama is littered with weapons, with big-time weapons on the outside. You have maybe the most electric wide receiver in college football in Ryan Williams. I know there's some others out there that would object, but certainly he's one of the best. Jeremy Bernard, Isaiah Horton, who you added through the portal. I mean, there's going to be some names I don't even mention. The offensive line should be fantastic for them. And then I think defensively, you return a lot there as well. Deontay Lawson in the middle. Year 2 in a Kane Womack defense. That's the side of the ball I'm a little bit more concerned about because there were things we saw last year. You know, the Vandy game is just that eyesore that just sticks out. But they got better as the season went. It was offensively that was their problem when they struggled late in the season. So I love this Bama team. I think it's just the standard at Bama when you're at a place like that. You know, everybody knows what the expectation is. And I think year 1, there was so much coming at Kalen DeBoer with taking over for Nick Saban and just it was kind of a whirlwind. And people don't really appreciate everything that goes into trying to change a culture. But you're also trying to carry on the tradition of what this program's already done. So it's kind of this meshing. It's kind of a mashing of heads, if you will. I think year 2, Kalen DeBoer maybe a little more comfortable in his own skin there in Tuscaloosa. I think Bama returns to the top. But I do think it's Texas in Atlanta, the most talented roster, in my opinion, in the conference. I think they hoist the trophy. I think they win the SEC championship. They get back there and get some redemption for last year. So that is my 1 through 16. And I feel like I was a little long-winded with that, but that's where I sit right now. Again, subject to change. I have not locked in every single game-by-game prediction, but that's what my gut tells me as of right now, boys.
You aren't high on Tennessee at all, are you?
I'm not high on Tennessee. No, I mean, they could finish 6-6, and I wouldn't be totally shocked. No,
okay, let's start off.
I'm not high on Joey Aguilar at all.
So, okay, you have Bama at 1, Texas at 2. Is that you have them at the same record, and is it because of the head-to-head matchup, or what went into that kind of thought process?
Yeah, so I think they'll both. Again, I don't think we're going to have an undefeated team in the SEC. I just don't see it. I don't see it. I think the league is too tough. I think these teams are going to beat up on each other, kind of similar to what we saw last year. I think both of them, I think both are probably going to win 11 games. For Texas, I see them beating Ohio State, losing a conference game. Now, which conference game is that? Again, I didn't go through and pick the exact conference game.
Right.
Is it the game at Georgia? Do they get upset by an Oklahoma? Do they get upset by an A&M? At Florida, like you mentioned.
That's one of my losses I have.
Yeah, at Florida, certainly. But I do think they're going to lose a conference game. I think actually the defensive front, way too early prediction, I think they're going to go into Ohio State and beat Ohio State, which will be at that game, by the way. But yeah, I mean, I think Bama will lose a conference game as well. I think there will be some funky tiebreaker that gives Alabama the nod.
So you think Texas wins the SEC championship game, though?
The SEC title game, yes, in Atlanta.
Yeah, I think Bama and Texas don't play in the regular season.
No, they don't play in the regular season. But I think Texas will beat Bama in the SEC title. I don't think we'll have a rematch.
So you're there too, CP. You would be shocked if the SEC championship in between one of those top 4 teams.
Yeah, I'd be pretty surprised. I think if we were like ranking these in regards to tiers, it's those top 4, and then there's a like championship tier, and then there's like a next level of like college football.
Where's your next tier cut off at?
Probably Texas A&M.
So you think it's Florida, Ole Miss, A&M?
I mean, I'd even put A&M as a college football playoff hopeful because on paper they should be that. On paper,
you kind of said that because you did say you didn't think South Carolina would be a playoff team this year. So
I think everybody South Carolina and below, I don't think is a playoff contender. So yeah, I would go Florida to A&M. That group of 3 is a playoff hopeful. And again, I mean, who knows? Listen, I will say this. I have this weird feeling that either Oklahoma or Auburn's going to pop. Like one of those. Like we're going to have a surprise team. Somebody's going to surprise. I'm bracing myself for it, but it's hard for me to buy stock in that right now and really invest myself in that and put that out there on paper. So
who was the hardest team for you to rank?
The hardest team for me to rank. I mean, there were a few I went back and forth on because I was kind of kicking myself in regards to like how low I had Auburn, even though I'm out on Hugh Freeze. Like you look at like it's because we all know, guys, it's Jimmy's and Joe's. So like I think Auburn on paper, it's like, man, they are so much better than 13th in the league. The one I probably wrestled with the most, it was more in the top 4, probably LSU.
Okay.
Probably LSU because I think this is a team that could win it all, especially with the additions they brought in. I mean, they did so much in the portal to upgrade that roster and give BK the best. I mean, what have they been saying, guys? We got the best roster since we've been here. It's the best roster we've had in Baton Rouge. So, I wrestled with LSU a pretty good bit. Dave obviously had him in his SEC title game, but that was one that I definitely went back and forth.
I really kind of had that as a wrench at the end of it.
Yeah,
at Auburn.
Yeah, I mean that was probably the one. Them and Auburn, I would say. I did make a last-second switch. Do I even put Missouri ahead of Tennessee? That was one I guess I wrestled with was Mizzou because Mizzou again. It's so easy to just count them out, but
right.
Tennessee's enough. So I'm giving you a bad answer because I wrestled with a few of them. To be honest with you, I mean it's because I feel like part of me is like you try to use your brain as much as possible, but it's almost like you have to pick chaos because there's gonna be chaos.
There's gonna be chaos.
It's gonna be chaos. So. I mean, last year I said I was thinking about how crazy these preseason picks are because last year, this time of year, and I can't even believe I uttered these words, I said that there will be 7 10-win teams in the SEC, which is a crazy thing that I said. I can't believe
I remember you saying that.
I can't believe anybody took me seriously after that. So thank you all for staying tuned in, staying locked in. But I don't think that will be the case this year. I think the 4.
Hey, you cut it off at A&M.
Hey, I was like some of these other folks out here saying that everybody was going to make the college ball playoff in the SEC. No, I think we will have 4 in the playoff, and we'll drop. By the way, myself, Dave, and Cole, we'll drop our playoff predictions and everything in our brackets. I think the SEC gets 4, and I think it is those top 4. And I think at Florida, maybe Ole Miss, we're going to have the same convo we had last year. 9-3 SEC team. Should they be in the field? And they won't. So I think that's probably where we're going to be. So, okay, Cole, you want to run through yours?
Let's go.
Drum roll, please.
Let's go, Bear.
Cole Thompson's predicted order of finish. We'll start at the bottom at number 16. He's got Mississippi State, 15 Kentucky, 14 Arkansas, 13 Vandy, 12 Auburn, 11 Mizzou, 10 Tennessee, 9 A&M, 8 Ole Miss, 7 Oklahoma, 6 Florida, 5 South Carolina. He's got I respect the ties, by the way, Bear. Tie for 3rd, Georgia and LSU, and then a tie for 1st.
Bear, get the tiebreakers out, dude.
I couldn't do it because I think both of them are going to finish with the same record and they're going to have the same
tiebreakers set on. You know the tiebreakers.
Yeah, whatever.
Bama and Texas tied for 1st. Alabama hoisting the trophy in Atlanta. So Bear has the same SEC title as I do, but he's got the Crimson Tide beating the Longhorns in Atlanta. Bear, walk us through this.
Mississippi State, listen, I think that you're going to be better with the rushing attack with Fluff Bothwell. I like Davin Booth. I think that Luke Kromenhoek and Blake Shapen are 2 good quarterbacks for the system you want to run. I don't trust that defense. Like, I still think it's going to get picked apart and Swiss cheese, have too many holes that are just going to be slicing and dicing through, and then they're going to lead to too many losses. Kentucky, I think, is kind of in that same boat. It's like, I've seen Zach Calzada play. I think that his highlight moment in college football came back in 2021. It's 2025. You're not going to be able to, I think, duplicate that success. Though I really do like their left tackle, Shiaz Pate, that they brought on in for New Mexico State. I think he could be a really big-time player. I also like the addition that they brought him from South Dakota. Really good FCS All-American type that comes from the smaller tier level that can make the transition. But I just don't buy into them as a full roster. They're more of like a bunch of players kind of trying to masquerade as a team this year. Arkansas, it's kind of the same thing that you guys have said. Taylor Green, I think that he can pop. It's not going to shock me if he ends up leading the SEC in turnovers because of their one-dimensional offense. But he also is one of the more, I would say, dynamic players that you just can't take your eyes away from. And they're going to get an upset win. It could come against Texas A&M. It could come on the road against Tennessee. It could come against Notre Dame, for that matter. They will find a way to win a game that they shouldn't, and then they're going to lose a game that they should win. And it may be like the Memphis game when they go to the Liberty Bowl. Like something like that is going to be Arkansas to a T this year. Just too many inconsistencies when it comes to their offensive personnel, though I do like them. I don't think they're a bad team. I do like them. Vandy hurts me. It really hurts me because I think that they're going to get a couple of games down to the wire, maybe 2 or 3 upsets. But my problem is that I just have too many questions with the names outside of Eli Stowers. Like Diego Pavia is going to be exactly what you want in your quarterback. He is playing off of Percocet and sheer determination to keep drives alive. Like that is who he is as a player. But I look at where the wide receiver room is, and I don't feel like you did enough to upgrade. I feel like that the defense is going to be good, but good is only okay. And then you got to remember, you're going to Tuscaloosa this year. That's a game that they have circled since they lost to you in Nashville. That's going to be a tough one. So I just think that you're going to be in a lot of games, but there's going to be a few games that lean outside of your favor. Still, you are a bowl eligible team. Like everyone from 13 up, I think is bowl eligible. Maybe even Arkansas does too. Auburn, my entire point just comes back to Hugh Freeze. I constantly remember last year, Hugh Freeze's offense, Hugh Freeze's play design, Hugh Freeze's infrastructure. That just bothered me. And as much as you have the talent around you, you're not the 12th best roster. You're probably the 8th or 9th best roster, if not the 7th or 6th best roster. You have the personnel to be really good. But when you don't have the coach that I believe can get you over that hump, this is where I find you. And I think that you're going to lose too many games that just should be one-possessional wins that end up as one-possessional losses once again. And it pains me, but that's Auburn because I like Cam Coleman. I like Eric Singleton. I like the defense. I like Kylan Lee. I like their offensive line, but I just don't trust their play caller. And when you don't trust the play caller, it's iridescently similar to Jimbo Fisher 2023. You knew that, okay, Bobby is calling the shots. No, he's not. Jimbo's still running the show. He's going to shoot himself in the foot. It's going to lead to regression. That is, to me, Auburn. Missouri's just an unknown. Like Missouri, I want to put them higher. I really did. But, I got to see Bo Pabula in action. I think Ahmad Hardy is a really good running back. I want to see him continue to build that success from the G5 level to the SEC. I want to see Kevin Coleman be a really good receiver. But who was going to be that secondary punch? Because the best part about having a Luther Burden and a Theo Wease combination was you had to mentally prepare for both of them. You had to hope that both of them were going to be able to have a bad day or that you were playing up against a really good defense. For Kevin Coleman, it's I think you could be a stud, but who was going to take that pressure off of you to open up the avenues across the middle of the field for first down gains, moving the sticks? What is this defense going to be as well? They brought in the Georgia transfer and David Wilson. They brought in Josiah Trotter. Corey Batoon did a really good job last year, but what more needs to be done for this team, I think, to feel like that they're a cohesive unit? There's always this theory that I have that you have to figure out how to play as one unit. Right now, where I'm at when it comes to Mizzou is I think that they're going to be early on in the season. And even though they got 6 games at home to kind of kickstart their year, they're going to be trying to play as one cohesive unit of transfers and returning starters. And that's going to cost them a couple games. Tennessee, I don't want to doubt Tennessee because I think that Joey Aguilar, both of you are a little bit critical on him, and I get it. He's a better fit, I think, for what Josh Heupel's offense wants to be. I think that he's going to open up the passing attack a little bit more. I think he's going to have more touchdowns than Nico Iamaleava last year. He's also going to have more interceptions, so he's going to put the ball in harm's way a lot more. And what are you going to be when it comes to the rushing attack? Do you feel really good about Deshaun Bishop and Peyton Lewis taking off pressure from what you have with Dylan Sampson? What's Star Thomas going to be this year? How's the offensive line going to be this year? So I just feel like it's easier to put them at that 10 spot and be presently surprised at the end of the year what they will be versus what I think that they can be right now. A&M, in my opinion, A&M has the easiest floor to guess at 8-4. I do believe 8-4 is easily on the horizon for them. I think that their offense is the most easy to prepare for, but challenging to prepare for. Because what I mean is, they're not going to sugarcoat it. They know who they are as an identity. They're going to run it down your throat. They got 3 dudes that can easily all put belt to ass and go 15, 17 yards in the open field for explosive plays. They got a mobile quarterback that fits the system a lot better, I think, for Colin Klein this year. So that's a good thing. I think you have a really good wide receiver in Casey Concepcion. Could be an absolute juggernaut across the middle of the field. My 2 areas that I have concerns. Marcel Reed outside of the deep pass and the mobility. Can you hit 15-yard out routes? Can you be better on the 12 to 8-yard throws? Can you be better on the short to intermediate game? Because you can hit the home run, but sometimes they need a single. Sometimes they need a double. Sometimes I just need to be put runners in scoring position, and you're not doing that right now. And then I just wonder about that pass rush. Because I think the secondary is going to be better. I think the linebacking core is going to be great. But that pass rush, you have Cassius Howell, and who is going to be that breakout guy? Who is going to come on in and be able to make a quarterback throw into harm's way to where you get the ball back? So it's an area to where I just don't want to put so much emphasis on right now. I think that there's other teams that maybe have that it factor just a little bit more. But Le'Veon Moss is a stud. Like, I think that A&M is going to lead the SEC in rushing as a team this year. Ole Miss, this is an Austin Simmons ploy. Like, I think Austin Simmons is going to be a dude. I am so excited to watch what he gets to be in Lane Kiffin's system. And I'm kind of with Chris on this one. It's hard to doubt Lane when it comes to quarterback play. He knows what he wants. He knows what works. He knows what doesn't. He's great at developing them as well. And I do like the wide receiver room, but I'm also going to agree with Dave on this. That defense worries me far too much to where I can't say that they're going to be a complete team. Like, it'd be the most Lane Kiffin thing of all Lane Kiffin things to spend a bucket load of money, miss the college football playoff with a roster good enough to win a national title, and then go on an 11-1 run and make it to the postseason. Like, it'd be the most Lane Kiffin thing, but I just don't trust that defense right now. It may be one of the biggest regressions that we have seen from 2024 to 2025, but one of the biggest progressions is going to be Oklahoma's offense. And I think if that does lead them to a win over Ole Miss right now, I think John Mateer and Jaden Ott are going to be the best backfield that nobody talks about going into the year in terms of what they can see. But by the end of the year, they're all going to know who they are. Mateer is awesome, and he can beat you in so many ways. He's got great deep ball accuracy. He's got good intermediate throws. He also is mobile. I mean, a lot of people forget he led college football last year in total touchdowns. And then you throw in a healthy version of Jaden Ott from Cal. It's the perfect fit for Ben Arbuckle's system. And you get better at wide receiver. And I don't think the offensive line is going to be terrible underneath Bill Beatonbow. And I still get Brent Venables calling my defense. And bottom line, if I get the opportunity to have any defensive mind calling the shots, Jim Knowles and Brent Venables are probably my top 2. And there's a very big margin, I think, between 2 and 3. So I trust that they're going to be in that 8-4, maybe 9-3 range. And then Florida's kind of in that same pathway. If I believe that they can beat Texas and I believe that they can beat Georgia, then what's them stopping from beating Miami? What's them stopping from beating an LSU? What's stopping them from beat everybody else on their schedule and get to 10-2? It's DJ Lagway. But I'm also really, really high on Dallas Wilson. I think that he is going to be the breakout wide receiver. First wide receiver to go for over 1,000 yards since 2002 down in Gainesville. I think that you're going to have a really good defensive line. I like their offensive line, and I think Jaden Boss is a stud. Like, I will not be shocked if he leads the SEC in every single rushing category. But I just wonder, is that schedule going to knock them off their pedestal just a little bit to where maybe they're not going to the playoff? Really good 9-3 season. Really solid, good core that we have our identity. We have the right coach and the right personnel. Just we got screwed over because of scheduling. South Carolina, it all comes down to quarterback play. But you have arguably the best quarterback in the SEC. He's going to keep you in every single game. I will say this prediction was made with the thought that we were going to see Rasul Faison in the backfield because Rocket Sanders was such a blessing last year for this offense, especially underneath Dow Loggins. And I keep going back to what Mike Shula ran when he was in the NFL. He had a good rushing attack, stability at the tight end position, one decent outside receiver, and a mobile quarterback with Cam Newton. And I don't think it's going to be Cam Newton 2.0, but I do think that Rasul Faison is the most slept-on running back in the SEC going into the year. I think that Michael Smith is the most slept-on tight end going into the SEC this year because we didn't really see a big role with him because of Josh Simon last year. I think Malik Clark is going to be a big-time player. Like, I know Nick Harbor had all his spring to kind of get acclimated as wide receiver 1. I think Malik Clark is going to take over that role. There's just something about him watching his tape and the way that he comes in and out of breaks and how comfortable he feels kind of going into the system that he is going to start feeling himself like by week 4, week 5, they come back from playing against Missouri and playing against Vanderbilt. And it's like, that guy has made his name known. Him, Mazio Bennett, Nick Harbor, every single one of them has a good assignment. And then that defense I still can trust because of, I don't think that Clayton White didn't target the right players. I think that there is something about finding the right culture fit that is going to lead to the results. And they did that with a lot of guys. Brandon Cisse comes on in from NC State, Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy, Justin Aruka-Wankro. I mean, like, there's so many dudes that just fit, I think, what South Carolina is with this underdog mentality. And both of you were sleeping on Shane Beamer for this one thing. He always hits the over. Like, 2 of his last 3 years, he has hit the over in win totals. And I think that he can do that again because if he has the best quarterback he's ever had on campus. Georgia, it all comes down to, can you be that physical team? Because of, there were so many times last year where you remember the offensive line getting blown back and their inability to run the football and the play calling was a little bit askew. What I will say is I like the wide receiver addition. I think Noah Thomas is going to be really big inside the red zone. I think Zachariah Branch is going to have a fresh start elsewhere to live up to the expectations that he never was able to accomplish out in USC. I like the running back room with Nate Frazier. I love Bo Walker. I said in my bold predictions video, I think Bo Walker takes over as the lead running back at some point during the season. He's been with the team since January. He went to New Orleans for the Notre Dame practice. He understands what this offense is going to be with Mike Bobo. And when you have a name like Bo Walker, why am I blanking? Sorry, what's going on a run? Herschel Walker and Bo Jackson. Like when you have that name put
Herschel,
together,
baby.
You got to have it go. Heisman Trophy potential is what we got with this kid. I think the defense will be better. I do. I don't think it will be. I think they'll add more pressure, which is a big time thing. Like they didn't have that physical kind of throw you around, punch you in the face and say, hey, don't get back up mentality last year. I don't think they'll have it entirely, but I think that Elo Meduzzi coming on in from Army is going to be really good in the run game. I think he's going to be a better pass rusher than we think. So 10-2 is probably where I have them with 2 conference losses. Same thing for LSU. I think LSU is a playoff team. I think LSU, if they were to go on the most dominant run that we have seen since 2019, it wouldn't shock me either because I believe in Garrett Nussmeier. He has been in every single environment, in every single situation, so he understands how to play up to the stakes, which a lot of quarterbacks in this conference can't say right now. But I do wonder about the 2 main elements that cost them last year. Their inability to run the ball, which made the offense one-dimensional. It's a weaker offensive line than what it was a season ago. And their ability to stop the run. Last season in losses, they allowed an average of 98.2 yards per play on the ground. You got to be better than that. And I think that was a big emphasis this offseason for what Blake Baker wanted and bringing in Sadir Mitchell and Patrick Payton and Jack Pyburn. And you got 2 good linebackers that you think are going to be pretty upgrades for you. And I think the secondary is going to be really good. I love the addition of AJ Halsey that they landed from Houston late in the portal process. Mansur Delane is one that we talk about. TJ Pickett's one that we talk about. And their schedule is, I think, very, very much welcoming to where you kind of get to figure out what this LSU team is early on in the year to where if they're rolling by the time that they get to the midway point and they play South Carolina, they get to that bye week, they go into Tuscaloosa. If they win that game, it's just about them at this point not shooting itself in the foot. Like it's all internal for LSU. Texas, my only question is, will Arch be able to live up to the hype? Because I don't have any other question about this team. I truly believe that when you look at what Steve Sarkisian has built out in Austin, it's a wash, rinse, repeat that we have seen from Georgia from Alabama in years past of we got the next guy up. Hey, he's not playing this year, but he doesn't have to play this year because of look at who's going ahead of him. That's a first-round talent. That's a second-round talent. If we had to play him this year, man, he may end up being an all-SEC player, but you know what? We're going to wait because we don't have to utilize him. He doesn't have to be that go-to guy. And I love the portal additions because Texas didn't have the biggest portal class. They didn't have the most dominant portal class, but you know what they did? They targeted the right type of talent, whether it be Minad Watson from Syracuse or Jack Andrews from Cal or Emmett Mosley, the slot receiver from Stanford. Every single player that you saw in the portal is going to have an assignment. They're going to have a duty. And I think that speaks volume of the way that you're going about building a roster and identity and making sure that they're mentally and physically prepared for game day. I trust Sark. I trust the offense. I trust the wide receivers. I trust the run game. I trust Kyle Flood developing the offensive lineman. And I trust that you're going to have one of the best defenses in college football. But I think the best defense in college football resides in Tuscaloosa this year. I really do. I love LT Overton. I love this linebacking core. I think that the addition of the Colorado kid Hill is going to be great for this. For the front seven. It's going to be like that dime package linebacker who can come in and play a variety of different roles and have to maybe fill in certain gaps. I think the secondary is the deepest in college football, and we're not talking enough about it. And then you already mentioned the wide receivers. Jeremy Bernard, I think, could be the breakout star and have a very iridescent, similar season to what Jameson Williams had when he came into Ohio State with that impact. And I think that you still have Ryan Williams, which is going to be challenging for it. And Ty Simpson's talked about working with Isaiah Horton in the past and how influential that's going to be. I think that you have a good offensive line, if not a great offensive line. I think that Parker Brailsford coming on back in. And then you land Cam Dewberry for an entire offseason to get him acclimated. And then the biggest acclimation was getting Robin to come back to the Batcave and say, hey, I want to be a part of the family once more. Let me call plays on offense, and that's what he's going to do to let Kalen DeBoer focus in on everything else. And I've seen this offense. I've seen it at Fresno State. I've seen it at Washington. I've seen it at its peak. It's going to be good, if not lethal. They're going to have two receivers that are fighting for 1,000 yards, if not more. They're going to have a third receiver that's fighting for 800 and 900 yards. If they can run the football at a consistent basis, not an elite basis, at a consistent basis, I think that they're really well put together to lead the conference in scoring, lead the conference in third down conversion attempts, lead the conference in passing, lead the conference in total yards per game. I think this could be one of the best offenses we have seen in Tuscaloosa since 2020 when Sark was calling the shots. I think the big thing at the end of the day is just I like Alabama, and too many people are talking about Kalen DeBoer being underwhelming because of what happened last year. Losses to Vanderbilt, losses to Oklahoma. And I get it. It's inexcusable. The Michigan game, to me, is the beyond inexcusable loss. But then I remember you just were in a national championship at Seattle. You just led a team that went 4-8 to back-to-back 11 wins. You turned Fresno State into a respectable program once more in the Mountain West. You take a year to kind of understand what your identity is and then take over. And I just think that Kalen DeBoer is going to get one up on Steve Sarkisian in Atlanta. They're going to be back in the playoffs. They're going to be the number 1 or number 2 seed. I like Alabama that much to go ahead and buy into it.
Bear, so you're not real high on Ole Miss through Missouri.
I think Ole Miss is Ole Miss and Texas A&M are those cutoff teams to where if you told me, yeah, they get to 10-2, it's not going to shock me. I just got to see the path. Like, I wonder about Marcel Reed. I wonder about that pass rush. If I'm proven wrong, I will be 100% wrong, and both will end up getting there.
You're down. You're more down than you were on the Ole Miss defense, aren't you now?
Yeah, looking back and looking at the names that they do have and some of the names they targeted, it's just
they have just a ton of missions. Tennessee, can they get to 10-2 now?
Their schedule is balancing them enough to where, yeah, Joey Aguilar is him, but like you also got to think, is Joey Aguilar going to be him every single game? Like Oklahoma has a quarterback that I can say can be that dude every single Saturday. I trust him. He has that moxie. He has that swagger. He carries himself with that persona that you want for a passer out in Oklahoma. And that's another thing is that Jackson Arnold didn't feel like an Oklahoma quarterback of old that just kind of set the tone and said, I know how good I am. Sit down, shut up, and watch me freaking play football. Like, that's John Mateer. I don't know if Tennessee has that right now with Joey Aguilar.
I feel
But I do think that Mike Matthews will be good.
I feel like we all have Tennessee in about the same range. That's probably one team we all kind of agree on in the same spot.
Now, here's where I will differ from both of you. You guys said the top 4 making it to the Atlanta. That should
winning the SEC.
Now, I agree with that. What I will say is if you told me that Florida, South Carolina, Oklahoma made it to Atlanta, I wouldn't be shocked. That I wouldn't be shocked with. I think if there's more to making it to the
I'll still say those 4. I'd be shocked.
Oklahoma would shock me a little bit.
It wouldn't for me.
I'm still going to stick with those 4 to win the league. And I think those 4 to play for the title.
I'll throw this at you, Bear, because you're obviously higher on South Carolina than Dave and I. I am really curious how Shane Beamer and company follow up a big season and handle real hype and expectations. Because the last time they had hype and expectations, it was 2023, and nobody thought that team winning less than they did the previous year, which was 8 games, you might recall. I think 9 it was because they lost to Notre Dame in the bowl game.
Yeah.
Nobody thought winning less than 8, though, was even possible. And that was with Spencer Rattler, Xavier Legette. Remember, they had Juice Wells, and he went out with the injury, and they went 5-7. So I'm really interested to see how they handle hype and It's South Carolina is one of those programs, and there's many fan bases that all think this, right? You ever heard a fan base say, like, God, we do so much better when nobody's expecting us to do anything. Yeah. Like every time somebody puts expectations on us, we fall flat on our face. Like I think there's a little bit of that in that fan base. So I am curious. I mean, if they were to finish 5th, and I'm assuming at that point they'd be 9-3 and be on the outside looking into the playoff again, that would be the brutal part of it. But I'm curious how they follow that up. What was the pick for you that was the toughest? The team, I guess, that was the toughest to place.
Auburn and Missouri, just both of them. Like because Auburn's not the 12th best.
They're not going to let you beat the drum at this rate, Bear.
No, they're not. They're not the 12th best team in the SEC. They're not. They're probably the 7th or 8th, if not the 6th. Like from a talent perspective. But I just don't trust the coach. And when I don't trust
Coach Drinkwitz is really disappointed in you.
But I'll say this, guys. How many bad football coaches have had like one good year? I mean, we've seen that. Yeah, we've seen it at Auburn back in 2010.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's like sometimes, I mean, yeah, we say it's the Jimmies and Joes. I don't know. They're due for a pretty
I mean, listen, at some point you feel like it. I mean, can Hugh Freeze even mess this up? I mean, I don't know. But see, I felt that way kind of like last year too. And he did mess it up.
Yeah.
So,
Missouri for me just says there's so much unknown offensively. There's just so much unknown. Like, I don't think it would be shocking with their schedule. They play 6 freaking home games in a row to start.
They've got a really workable schedule again.
Like, they could easily get to 10-2 if Bo Pabula is the perfect fit for this offense with Kirby Moore. The offensive line doesn't miss a beat after losing 2 starting tackles, and their defense is lights out once again. Like, it would not shock me at all because of their schedule is so manageable. But like, it's so unknown going into this year. I'd rather be cautiously optimistic and surprised than absolutely be over the top and ahead.
And to me, their defense is good, but it's not good enough to carry them.
And it would have to carry them for the first.
I don't think it's good enough to carry them if the offense is just a below average. I don't know. I have them losing early to Kansas. I'll be honest with y'all.
You have them losing a non-con game too.
Yeah, I have them 6-6 losing to Kansas.
I don't know if I can go that far, but I think of those 2 games early on in the year against South Carolina and who's the other one?
Yeah, South Carolina is the big one.
South Carolina and Kansas. Those are the 2.
That's what I would say, the Kansas.
Yeah. Those are going to be the 2 games where you kind of figure out who Mizzou is. Because, again,
you'll find out who South Carolina is, too.
You find out who you play Louisiana, you play UMass, you play Central Arkansas, I think it is, like week 1. Central Arkansas, and then you play Alabama. So, like, those first 5 games, you'll know who you are.
We all agreed on the bottom 2, and Bear looks like he's in agreement the top 4. Well, no, you said getting to Atlanta. But do you think there's a drop off there after 4?
Slightly between, I would go 5, 6, 7, 8, and then a slight lean more for 9, 10, 11, and then there'd be a drop off. But like
I think we were all the same on Arkansas too.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't it?
Arkansas at 14.
I think.
So the all same at bottom 3.
I mean, the
We
bottom.
all had the same top 4 except in different orders.
Yeah.
The bottom 4 feel pretty solid.
Auburn, I have Auburn higher than y'all.
Yeah.
That's a significant difference. And then we're all kind of sprinkled around for South Carolina. I have South Carolina 11. Chris, you had them what, 7 or 8? There,
8.
Yeah.
Oklahoma, I had them at 7. Chris had them at 11, or
I had them at 10. I hated. I had them at 10.
Hey, which team? So of that grouping of the top 4 that we all had, in some order. Let me ask you this: which of those in the top 4, if you had to pick one, is most likely to disappoint and not finish in the top 4?
Probably LSU, right? I mean, for me, it's LSU.
I'd probably go LSU. A part of me wants to say Georgia, but
it's Georgia for me.
It's hard for me to say that when they're.
See, I just trust Kirby.
That's what I'm saying. It's
in Kirby
and
Smart.
with all those games,
I believe in Kirby Smart more than I believe in Brian Kelly.
Let me ask y'all this: is there any path to Texas winning less than 10 games?
Yeah, 9.
Yeah,
9.
That was my worst case for them, 9-3.
But no worse than 9-3. Like when we did,
that'd have to be losses. What they'd have to probably lose to Ohio State, lose to Florida, and lose to Georgia,
or lose,
or lose to Oklahoma and Georgia,
or Texas,
like Texas,
or Texas A&M,
or A&M,
or A&M. Yeah.
The thing is that I think they're
just too talented, dude.
They have 5
I don't
games.
see it.
5 games. They have 5 games where they can lose. They're not going to lose 5. They will find a way to win 2 of them. So that's my theory: is that it could be Ohio State and Texas A&M.
Oh hell, yeah, they're not going 7-5. Did someone say they're going 7-5?
Somebody commented. Well, Bears just saying there's 5 games on the schedule that are like you could throw in the toss-up category.
But I don't think that they will lose all 5. I think at most they would lose.
I say, Sooners Cowboy. I got some motion property in Arizona to sell you, brother. If you're rolling the horns going 7-5.
I'm sure he's got OU going 12-0. So. I mean, yeah. So, well, there you have it, guys. Our predicted order of finish: myself, Dave Shumate, Bear Thompson. We're going to talk some SEC Media Days, get into it, preview the event upcoming. Before we do, guys, I want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel, because as always, we are brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Guys, college football season is just around the corner. You want to make sure you get in on the action with our friends at FanDuel. They got spreads. They've got totals. You can bet on who's going to win the SEC, who's going to win the national championship, who's going to win every single conference of college football. And it's not just college football. They've got NFL preseason, and the season's just around the corner. You can bet on the fights. You can bet on NHL, which will be back soon. NBA is going to be around the corner as well. MLB, obviously in full swing right now. So whatever it is, you want to make sure you do not miss out. And oh, by the way, looking way too far ahead, myself, Dave Shumate, Bear Thompson, will be giving our gambling picks on a weekly basis, just like we did last season. We're going to be tracking it. We're going to be trying to make you all big money during the college football season. So make sure you're in with us. Play over at FanDuel.com/SECU to get your $250 bonus when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, FanDuel.com/SECU. Official partners of SEC Unfiltered as we head into the 2025 season, and partners of the SEC Unfiltered Tour as well. Gents, that was a lot of fun. Again, our predicted order of finish is officially submitted. This is the one that will go on the ballot next week. And like I mentioned, just to put it out there, these are subject to change as we get into the month of August, fall camp. Rosters can change. Things can happen. We'll probably release an updated predicted order of finish, maybe the week or so, 2 weeks before kickoff. You never know. So either way, anyways, SEC Media Days in Atlanta, Georgia gets going on Monday, as Greg Sankey, of course, will be the first to speak. He will address everyone in the big room. Then, guys, it shakes out like this. Brian Kelly of LSU, Shane Beamer of South Carolina, Lane Kiffin of Ole Miss, and Clark Lee of Vandy on Monday. Then on Tuesday, we got Hugh Freeze of Auburn, Kirby Smart of Georgia, Josh Heupel of Tennessee, and Steve Sarkisian of Texas. On Wednesday, we've got Kalen DeBoer of Alabama, Jeff Levy of Mississippi State, Billy Napier of Florida, and Brent Venables of Oklahoma. And on Thursday, we've got Mark Stoops of Kentucky, Eli Drinkwitz of Mizzou, Sam Pittman of Arkansas, and Mike Elko of Texas A&M. Guys, I don't know if y'all noticed this, by the way, but I was looking back because I kind of used the template of last year's notes from that show for this show. I didn't realize how similar they keep the schedule. You realize Monday's schedule of coaches, the exact same as last year. I just thought that was kind of interesting. There's a lot of these coaches, they're speaking like at the exact same times, exact same days. Either way, looking at the schedule of coaches speaking, guys, I will say, I think Tuesday is going to be a pretty electric day with Hugh Freeze, Kirby Smart, Heupel, and Steve Sarkisian. I mean, there's big storylines for every day, but that's probably the one I look at and circle that one. I think probably the most fun day. I don't know. You guys tell me if I'm wrong, but that was the one that I was like, man, there's going to be a lot of chirping that day. So
to me, it was either day 1 or day 2. I'd agree with you, CP.
Hey, listen, hearing from Sankey right now with the state of college football will be interesting as well. I'm sure he'll have a lot to talk about.
I think day 2 is really interesting because of the storylines with the coaches. You got Kirby coming off of winning an SEC title, but it felt like that was his best coaching job in a while. What does this roster look like? You no longer have a quarterback in Knoxville that you were banking your entire offense to be around, and you bring in Joey Aguilar, so Heupel having to answer those questions. Hugh Freeze spending a lot of money in the offseason. Auburn going big into the portal, top 10 recruiting class once again, but underwhelming results. And then Steve Sarkisian, it's Texas. Like, it's Texas. They what's going to happen this year now that they're fully indoctrinated into the SEC? They've had an entire year to kind of get used to the scheduling, and they still have a very easy, relaxed schedule in terms of most other teams in the conference, but it's Arch Manning mania, and Arch is going to be there too. Like, that's the other thing, is that it's a front and center stage to go ahead and see Arch take on actual QB1. Like, I think that makes it more exciting when you throw in the player aspect of it as well.
I mean, Cole, you also mentioned too, or forgot to mention, Hugh Freeze and his golf game. That'll be a big topic of conversation.
Somebody's going to ask him about it. Somebody's going to ask him what he gets.
I mean, if it's
Screams
not me,
Chris Marler.
I was going to say, if it's not me, did I even do my job being there? But you're right. That is a Marler-esque question. With all due respect, much love to Marler. Guys, you mentioned storylines, so let's get right into that. Top storylines heading into next week's SEC Media Days. And again, we all know this, right, from last year. And I mean, if you've been watching this event for any amount of time, we get really excited for it, as we should. It'll be a lot of fun, a lot of great conversation, the unofficial kickoff to college football season. But you've really got to try to read between the lines, right? As the years go on, everybody gets better at coach speak, and players get better at speaking to the media. And, you know, it feels like the days of the zingers are less and less and less. But still, there are big-time storylines going in. Dave, I want to start with you. What's the big storyline in your mind going into SEC Media Days?
CP, I think you segue right in perfect into my answer here, and you didn't know what my answer was going to be. You talked about Greg Sankey a minute ago. I think it's Greg Sankey, kind of in just today's atmosphere, environment of college football. Like, it's a little bit of a Cold War, a little bit going out there. It's like, this is his one time a year. He really gets to go take the podium at his own event, and he usually gives good tidbits. He gives usually a direction where they're going. He's a pretty upfront guy. So I think, honestly, that's why I would lean first day. I mean, I agree with you. If you just said by coaches, I think day 2, I agree with you. But I think he just gives more. Again, most of this stuff's coach speak, player speak, and stuff like that. Again, you usually get some decent nuggets every now and then. But hell, we even talked about our reaction videos to him last year. Kind of like, well, man, I feel like we're stretching, kind of reading between the lines. It's more and more of that every year. But I really think you get real true. Not saying it's not fair to the other coaches too. They give some good meat and potato stuff too. But Greg Sankey is like, all right, a few times you get to listen to him here, actually get on a podium and address and kind of control the narrative. And he's kind of the face of the sport right now. So I'm actually interested in Greg Sankey because, I mean, it's ever evolving current of college football. So I'm going to go Greg Sankey. I get excited to hear the commish every year.
Lane's going to run his mouth. Lane always does. He's going to say something. It's going to piss off people. It's going to get a lot of clicks. I wonder what it is. I genuinely do. Is it going to be about how, look, I know I messed up last year. Oh, guess what? We can sit here and cry about it, or I can go.
He tweets at Hugh Freeze every day now.
Or can I ask for more money from the boosters like Hugh Freeze?
Or tags him on Instagram.
Could he be doing something like that? Could he take a shot at Texas Tech and say, listen, I get it. If I was out in Lubbock, Texas too, I would probably be asking somebody to save me from building this roster and sell this program to the idea. Like, he's going to make a comment because that's just Lane. Lane every single year finds a way to still get that zinger. It is very much like thinking of not Gen Z, because if it's not Gen Z, but also it's Gen Z version of Steve Spurrier, where it's way more PC. It's way more, I would say, not as what you would think is controversial circa 2025, but it still is going to perk up your ears and be like, oh, okay, I think I heard that. And then Eli Drinkwitz is going to come in here and he's going to have chest puffed out, talking all about how, oh, look at us, just little old Missouri, just finding a way to get it done. And he's going to brag and he's going to brash, and his shoe game is going to be elite because it always is elite. He has the best Air Force Ones every single year. They're custom made for this event. And he's going to be able to, I think, come away feeling like, listen, I may be like the guy standing on the 9th place podium, spraying champagne on myself and acting like that I did something really cool. But he's also going to realize I don't really care what anybody else says. We're Missouri. We're going to do it our way anyways.
Guys, I'd probably say my top storyline going in, and this is a little bit low-hanging fruit, but I mean, it is what it is. We've got 11 quarterbacks that are going to be at this event, and I don't know what's more notable, the ones that will be there, maybe some of the schools that didn't bring their quarterbacks, but it feels like to me, and I've been saying this really probably since January when we started to look ahead way too early, but it's the year of the new signal caller for so many contenders. Like, I just can't remember a year where so many of these top teams and teams we're picking to be top teams are being led by, even if it's guys that have played in years past or have hype, it's kind of these first year guys, or at least first full year being QB1s. And even just some of the young quarterbacks that are really talented. I mean, how about Gunnar Stockton coming to media days? That was something. I mean, that was something that definitely caught my eye.
Like Kirby's really pushing him.
Right. I mean, because it was like, Kirby's leaving no doubt. He's leaving no doubt. This is my guy.
There, and it's like, dude, it's not over yet. But it's kind of like Kirby keeps pushing that narrative. He is the guy.
Like that was really notable. I mean, Austin Simmons is coming. I mean, Arch Manning's going to be there, like Cole just said. Obviously, Garrett Nussmeier, he's not a new guy, but he's going to be there as well.
Taylor Green's
Ty
there.
Simpson's one that didn't get brought. That's kind of interesting, right? So I just the conversation around these new quarterbacks and leading into that too, a storyline just for me is like, who is going to be that surprise team? Because it's not an if, it's a who it's going to be, and trying to kind of one of the, and I think for the common fan, maybe you guys out there listening don't get this as much, because one of the most exciting parts of SEC Media Days, and Dave is going to figure this out. Cole probably already know this, but he'll figure it out if he hasn't. One of the best parts about it from our perspective, it's not even getting to hear from the coaches and the players. It's getting to talk to the local media that cover the teams.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that are really going to give you the tea, and they know the warts of these teams. And they know the good, the bad, the ugly. They may tell you some things that, maybe some of the coaches won't necessarily go into great detail over. So learning more about these teams from some of the local folks that cover them, maybe there's some things. It just seems like there's always some stuff you uncover that's behind the scenes that you're not quite as familiar with going in. But yeah, man, I'm excited for the signal callers. Like you mentioned, the players that are going to show up, because you can always get really good tidbits from them. And I feel like they reveal a little bit more at times than some of the head coaches are willing to do so. So I think that'll be interesting for sure.
Who's the player you're most excited to hear from?
I mean, I don't want to steal your answer, Cole, because I feel like
you won't, I promise.
Okay, because I was going to say Diego Pavia.
I'm not going to be there for him. I won't get there in time.
Oh, see, then it's Diego Pavia for me. I mean, he's an electric factory. I mean, he's a lightning rod, dude. He never bites his tongue. I mean, he's already going on a podcast this offseason, essentially saying, like, we're making it, and I'm paraphrasing very badly, but essentially, what did he say? Like, Tennessee's going to run through Vandy. We're
going to run the state of Tennessee.
We're going to run the state of Tennessee. Yeah, exactly. Like, we're taking over. We're going to run the state of Tennessee. Like, he just does not care, dude. So he's probably the guy. I mean, him, and then of course I think Arch Manning's the dude we all want to hear from. Just how is he handling the media, handling the spotlight? And I think he will handle it well. But heck, I mean, I think Gunnar Stockton too. Although I've talked to some Georgia folks, they said he might have the record for shortest answers ever at an SEC Media Days by a player. Not really a long-winded guy. So, yeah. Who's it for you?
Mine's DJ Lagway, because we haven't seen him. Remember, he was dealing with the shoulder injury throughout the entire offseason. I want to hear what he has to say. What's been the prognosis? How has he felt since getting back into a rehab assignment? What has he been able to build with these young other receivers like Vernell Brown, Nashawn Montgomery? You also throw in Dallas Wilson. I want to hear about, what were some things last year that he really liked about the offense, because of, again, it's Billy's offense. And that was a major selling point for him to go to Florida to begin with. And there were moments that he stood up and looked the part. And there were moments where, again, he still felt like a freshman, and not having a spring and being limited in a spring and on a pitch count, that's a little worrisome. I want to feel confident going into the early stages of fall camp that this is a guy I can buy stock into. He's fully healthy. And then any offensive lineman, like offensive linemen, for some reason, they give the best answers because they're unfiltered. Like they're not sitting here like trying to go ahead and be all political.
How often do they get behind the mic is the question, too.
Well, you got like 11 dudes that are offensive linemen at this year's SEC Media Days. Caden Proctor's going to be there. Slaughter's going to be there. Reed Adams from A&M's going to be there. They want to also defend their quarterbacks like as much as humanly possible. And like, dude, shut up. You have no idea what you're talking about. You guys are idiots thinking that our quarterback's not good. Like, they're very aggressive. I like those answers because those are the ones that, like, I think speak of the volume of what the camaraderie of the roster is. When you have a quarterback, like when you have an offensive lineman that's like, yeah, it's been a good offseason, man. Life is good. It's like, I don't buy into it. When I feel like that tension, the way, like, when Will Campbell didn't even know who his quarterback was with Drake May and said, I will block for him like he is my own son. It's like, oh, he's going to run through a wall for you. Like, I want that feel from all these offensive linemen.
Dave, player, coach, you're most excited to hear speak?
I mean, coach for me, it's got to be Hugh Freeze.
I'm the same.
Players, you can group all the quarterbacks in together. Yeah, I mean, I stole your answer. I won't be long with that. I'm just I think the guy recently, as of recent, he has more questions to answer with their current NIL state, him and John Cohen. Just heading into a big offseason, Hugh Freeze usually kind of avoids blame. Like, I mean, we saw it every week on a Monday, Tuesday press conference after games last year. He would throw, not after games, going into the week, he would throw Peyton Thorne passive-aggressively, a little under the bus at times. He doesn't really like to take responsibility, and I know people will ask him hard questions this week. He's someone I think that's the easy answer to what it's got to be. Sark isn't a real answer guy. Like, he doesn't give a whole lot. Like, he doesn't. Like, Hugh Freeze, I mean, Lane Kiffin has some one-offs, but sometimes I feel like he comes in and takes it a little more serious some years, and then some years he doesn't. But no, I'll go coach-wise for sure. I'll go Hugh Freeze.
Freeze is going to be interesting.
I have another storyline to follow. What's going to be the feel around Oklahoma with Castiglione announcing that he's stepping down? That to me will just be interesting because I want to kind of get a gauge from the local media, how they're responding. Is there kind of a little bit of pressure now with Jim Nagy being hired? What's BV's status at this point? The timing was really interesting to me because of, yes, it was at the end of all the athletics here where every team was kind of done playing, but it was also right before SEC Media Days. I feel like that's just a little bit.
Those ADs don't have as much power anymore, Bear.
Right. But it's just like, I would like to know what kind of the direction is. Is there kind of a feel of some gauge that we feel like we know who's the guy in waiting? When are we going to see the black smoke come out of Norman Memorial Stadium? It's like, hey, here's the successor. Because Joe Castiglione, for my money, was one of the best athletic directors in the last 27 years when you look at his entirety throughout college athletics. Not Mal Moore, maybe not even Greg Byrne. Greg Byrne has been not Mal Moore level, but I think that
you're saying Castiglione is better than Mal Moore?
No, I think Mal Moore.
I would say he consistently. Mal Moore made some bad hires outside of Nick Saban.
Right, but
I think Castiglione was probably a better overall AD than Mal Moore was. RIP.
I think that Castiglione has been one of the best athletic directors in the last four decades because he also has opened up so much for other sports. He put such an emphasis on getting softball back on track. He was always caring about baseball. He always had a standard for basketball. It was not just a football school with him. And I think that was such a big selling point, and it's such a big deal. He for me right now is still a top 5 AD in the sport.
How much do we think the conversation is around house settlement and revenue sharing versus actual on-field football?
I think that'll be a lot of the coaches' talks because, again, these coaches don't really want to answer a lot of these questions. Let's be honest, they don't know a lot of the answers to their own team. They don't. Like, Lane Kiffin knows about as much as us three do about his own secondary. No, I think that'll be a lot. It'll be interesting to see kind of who comes up there kind of complaining, who goes out there just with the old shucks attitude. I don't know. That kind of comes off as Jeff Lebby. Jeff Lebby was very short last year, very to I don't know. That would definitely be a point. Like, I think Kirby will give a very good answer on that.
Kirby's one I'll say I'm always excited to hear speak because he's a guy that will make you want to run through a brick wall talking football. That's just a guy that he oozes. He loves football.
Yeah.
So
no, I agree.
Yeah. So, guys, anything you hope to learn at Media Days? I'll ask you this. Is there anything we can learn? Because I understand, too, a lot of these prompts and everything, we do so to, for our own entertainment, for you guys' entertainment. But realistically, it feels like, again, like I mentioned, the coach speak gets better and better year after year. The players are so well media trained. Guys, can we learn anything truly at SEC Media Days? I mean, is there anything that can slip? Maybe I think Bear already said it, but do we learn more about like the status of DJ Lagway? Is there any lingering anything?
Yeah.
Would they even say that? I mean, I don't know.
I think what Bear said in regard to that would be a very good answer for this. I'm going to go what head coach seems a little checked out. Like you can always get a vibe. They know going into a year
that's a big storyline too.
If they're not going to be good, internally, so you can kind of see it, like media days, kind of going into the year. Who's kind of like, yeah, this guy's kind of a dead man walk. I mean, you saw it with Kevin Sumlin going into his last year. How I was on that staff. You see it. I mean, outside of last year, you kind of see it every year. I mean, who is it this year? Hugh Freeze? Is it Sam Pittman? Mark Stoops, I don't think, just because the whole buyout situation. But, I mean, he may seem a little checked out. I mean, he's been to a million of these things. Him and Kentucky's kind of ran its course. I'm just interested to see who's kind of a little checked out, just because we know inevitably with 0 firings last year, we're due for at least 2 this year.
I was going to say, Bear, don't you feel like I feel like that will be amongst the media there. The hot seat chatter will be a big talking point because of what Dave just said.
That was going to be for me is that hot seat. What is the actual gauge? Because there's 2 sides to think about it. There is the national perspective because of what the expectations are in Norman, what the expectations are in Gainesville, what the expectations are at other locations. And then there's the local feel. And the local feel usually has more of like an inside scoop on what boosters are saying, what the athletic complex believes, what are the internal expectations, what did they feel like that they upgraded at and what they didn't. So you and me and Dave may all say, hey, Brent Venables has got to do X, Y, and Z with wins to get back next year. And it may be instead, no, he's got to have a top 45 offense and a top 20 defense. He may have to make sure that he doesn't lose any recruits and that he is building towards a top 10 recruiting class. He's got to prove that he can get a few upset wins and not blow too many leads. Like that might be more so the feel for what really is the hot seat versus you got to win a certain amount of games to guarantee your job is back. And I think that's where there is the perception of national trying to get talking points out and then actual insiders or people who are boots on the ground having these internal conversations. They can tell you what it is. And I'm not saying that Brent Venables is like the only guy. Like it may be that way for Billy Napier. Billy Napier, again, last season, really hot close to the end. Got 2 big upset wins, kept teams out of the college football playoff. Is he safe? Like, is he a guy that has fully gotten out of the woodwork and that he is guaranteed you get to 7-5 with this record, you're back for 2026? Like, what is the feel for him? And then also, are we overlooking the Hugh Freeze stuff?
Guys, it's going to be a fun event in Atlanta, Georgia, like I've mentioned so many times every year. The unofficial kickoff to the college football season. 4 days in the A in the capital of Georgia. Cannot wait. We will be on hand, myself and Dave Shumate there every single day. Cole Thompson at some point will be there as well. Going to be a lot of fun. Again, content bleeding out of the eyeballs. It won't just be 2 shows next week with the overtime drive. We'll essentially be going live every single day, coming to you live from Atlanta, breaking down all of the action, reacting to everything on a day in, day out basis. So, guys, any closing remarks? SEC Media Days, I know we're all fired up. Anything else before we put a pin in it?
Feels earlier and earlier every year they push it. Or it feels like it's been like middle. I remember it used to be kind of later, July. But no, you're right. It's official kickoff, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm just glad we have college football closer and closer back to being our television screens. That's it. Like this is the final straw for me.
I'm just glad to be back with you boys. Hey, before we get out of here, let's take a few questions because we do have some folks that dropped a few. Dave, you'll really like this one. Our friend Full Court Network the home of college basketball, tweeted at us and said, will the SEC be as dominant in football as they were in basketball last season, asking for a friend?
No. I said I think the football is the third worst sport out of the big three right now in the SEC.
Yeah,
No.
probably not. Like from a standpoint of dominance, like how good the elite teams are, no. Like I think it'll be still a lot of parity. I think it'll still be a lot of fun.
Well, we need a SEC team to win a national championship to have any chance at that competition.
Which
that could be another storyline at media days. Is there an elephant in the room that is, hey, it's been back-to-back seasons with no title, so it's been a while.
Oh, I didn't even think about
that.
that.
Are you not sticking with your Penn State pick?
I didn't pick Penn State to win the national champion. Oh wait, did I? No,
Yeah.
no, I picked Texas to win. No, I picked Texas to beat them. I had them in the national championship against Texas.
Let's say you still have time. I was just.
He can change his mind, Dave.
Come on, no, I mean I still
early in the process.
I still think Penn State's the best team in college football going into the year, and that's that has not changed, unfortunately, and that pains me to say.
Guys, Eric Simmons comments on YouTube, which those tuned in, Facebook, YouTube, X. We appreciate you guys, every single one of you that tune in live to this show. Which SEC coach is facing a do-or-die season? He said he thinks Hugh Freeze for Auburn and Brent Venables for Oklahoma. Is it do-or-die for both of them?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's 1A, 1B with them.
Would you put Sam Pittman in do or die, or is it just like it's
dead? No, I think it depends how it looks for him. I think 6 or 7 wins.
I think Arkansas fans would be more upset if they somehow found a way to go 8-4 and he was back. I think they'd be more upset.
Yeah, I think 6-6, 7-5, he's back. He's a year on his he would get an extra
7-5. He's back.
I think he's back.
7-5, dude. Certainly,
that
he gets another year on his deal.
That roster, yes, he is back. 100%.
Oh no, I'm just saying, even financially, they couldn't fire him. That'd be the dumbest firing of all time. It's built in his contract. He gets another year extension if he wins 7 games. Then you're going to fire him. You'd have to pay it. So you'd be paying whatever his buyout plus an extra like $7.5 million to fire him.
I got a bold one, and I only say bold. I don't think it's going to happen, but I do think that if you don't win another conference game like you did last year, Jeff Levy might have a hot seat.
Yeah,
like,
if Charles Huff and Southern Miss beat them in Hattiesburg the first game, he's in trouble.
He's in trouble. Like if you go 0-16 and lose to a G5 school a second straight year, like it's not Arizona State. You lose to Arizona State. I mean, I get it. It's not great. But still, Arizona State won the college football playoff last year and has 96% returning production. You lose to Southern Miss that had a terrible roster last year, but basically took all of Marshall's roster and brought it down to Hattiesburg with Charles Huff. You lose that game. That's the second time that you have lost to a G5 school as an SEC team. And if you were to go 0-8 again in conference play, it's so hard to sell. Yeah. Like that is so hard to sell to the fan base.
Yeah, I mean, like even our boy Sooners Cowboy mentioned, I bet Zach Selman's pretty upset with the timing of Joe Castiglione retiring because he's probably, damn, I needed more time to potentially get back to Norman and get that job. But, yeah, I don't know. Bear's right. Levy could be that guy if it got real bad in Starkville this year.
I just wonder if they want to spend the money because they're allocating all that money to baseball now. So
I don't think it's do or die for Mark Stoops because just that contract is.
By the way, speaking of, it's not because of the buyout, but speaking of funny non-conference games, they got Toledo week 1.
I know.
So,
I'm excited to see it.
We already saw it last year. Do I dare go Toledo again? Dave, do I go back to the well with the upset?
I think Kentucky's going to be bad. Maybe an all-time bad like Mississippi State last year. I don't know. Here's a question, Chris. Here's a question for you: who was worse, Missouri baseball this year or Mississippi State football last year? Remember, Missouri got sweep against A&M, baby. They came in hot.
I think state football was worse because at least Mizzou won a conference game.
I say Mizzou won a conference game. I think that ends it.
They won a conference just series. I mean,
right. They won, So I mean, they had more opportunities to win conference games, but Mississippi State didn't win a conference game and lost to Toledo and got blown out. Granted, Mizzou baseball lost to HBCUs in a tournament. So, I mean, that's kind of the same thing,
My big thing with Mark Stoops is it's every single year I'm just going to be watching what's happening up in Iowa City with Kirk Ferentz. Like, because as soon as Ferentz goes, I'm like, okay, they're going to fly the plane down to Lexington, and then he's going to go ahead and get to the Big Ten country. Like, that's how the job opens up, because that buyout's ridiculous. Like, he's not getting fired. But if I was like, hey, we'll pay part of it to go ahead and land our coach, we'll do you a favor to go get the guy that we want to come back home. Like, we'll just do that.
Our friend J.M. Jones comments, by the way, dude, lay off the crack. No way in hell Mizzou loses at home.
I agree with him. Lay off the crack.
Lay off the crack, Dave.
I'm telling y'all, crazier upsets happen in the first 2 weeks. Even these coaches and staff don't even know these teams that well.
Okay, what do you think?
I'm just saying, did any of us think Vandy would just go destroy Virginia Tech week 1 last year? I didn't.
I had Virginia Tech in the playoffs. No.
Huh?
I had Virginia Tech in the playoffs.
I'm saying. There's usually some wild upset that happens.
Expect
like Colorado beating TCU week 1 2 years ago.
Expect the unexpected. Hey, let me pull this one up because I want to know: am I a hypocrite? Are others hypocrites too? JP, Auburn, you got to show me, but you have Texas at 2 with an unproven quarterback. Contradictions.
He's coming after you, CP.
Yeah, I mean, I trust Steve Sarkisian a lot more, and my God, their roster is just worlds better. So even if Arch Manning was so-so, I mean.
You have an unproven quarterback in Austin. You have a ton of unproven potential on the plains of Auburn. Like, I mean, like, that's where I'm at, including the coach. Like, I can argue in every single capacity besides wide receiver, Texas might be better at Auburn, except for maybe quarterbacks unproven, but also Jackson Arnold had turnover issues last year at Oklahoma. He had turnover issues throughout practice. Like, that was an underlying thing that not enough people were paying attention to until we got to that finish line in some fall camp. And then it was like, hey, you may have to live with the turnovers. What if we hear that again? And like Arch is like, yeah, he's putting up pedestrian numbers, but he's not turning the ball over. He's not putting it in harm's way. And then Jackson Arnold's like, I'm throwing it into double coverage, and Kylan Lee's picking me off, and they're getting good pressure on me. So we're still having the same problems. Like, that's where we're at.
Guys, one last one, then we'll get out of here. Eric Simmons. I think 10-2 Florida should get to the college football playoffs. What do you think? I think we'd agree.
10-2? Yeah.
If you're 10-2, you're in the playoff. Yeah. In the Power Four.
You're a 10-win SEC team.
Sankey will go nuke. Then it will go nuke.
It's the 9-3s that I think we're going to run into the problems again.
If they go now, I will say this: if they go 9-3, they may have the best argument with their schedule.
Well, it depends who they lose to, but yeah.
I say
we're gonna be having these same convos. I already know it. We're gonna be doing our college football.
We're
gonna do
our
college football playoff ranking shows. We're gonna have the same convos.
Ole Miss, South Carolina.
It's gonna be Florida. It's gonna be at 8-3 going in the last weekend. Oh yeah, no question.
They're gonna be. I just their schedule is so challenging. Like, again, we go back to what we said last year. You take South Carolina, you take Ole Miss, you take Alabama, and you put them on a neutral site field against the 11-1 Indiana team. You feel pretty good in the SEC, don't you? Like, you feel pretty confident with that. And I get it. 2 of those teams lost to Big Ten teams. So I understand where you guys are about to come from. I hear you, but I still feel like reputation and records matter. You're going to have a 9-3 team that can beat an 11-1 team in a different conference. And that's probably Florida. But that 11-1 team has to represent its conference, so they're in and Florida sitting out. Like, that's where I'm at.
Let's not pull up the Indiana conversation again.
No, I don't want to do it.
Let's not do it.
It wasn't fun last year. It's not fun now.
On that note, boys, always a lot of fun. This was great. The overtime drive featuring all 3 of the 3 amigos is officially back. Dave, Cole, really appreciate it. Excited to see both of you gentlemen in Atlanta at SEC Media Days. It's going to be an electric time. Guys, again, stay tuned for the next time we'll be back because, like I said, the schedule next week for the overtime drive will be a little bit different because we'll be rapid fire every single day. Might be some different times as well when we're going live. It'll be end of day at SEC Media Days, but we'll let you know exactly when we're going to be hitting that live button and going to be coming to you, recapping everything, breaking it all down. It's going to be a lot of fun. Guys, again, appreciate you all tuning in. Thank you all so much. As always, make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications, check us out via podcast or get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. For Dave Shumate and Cole Thompson, I'm Chris Phillips. This is the Overtime Drive, SEC Unfiltered's SEC football show and the best SEC football show on the internet. Y'all take care. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week live from Atlanta at SEC Media Days.